What is reflexivity? Why is it important for researchers to practice reflexivity in the process of research? And what is the general process of reflexivity in research? We will briefly respond to these questions. So first, reflexivity is generally a vital practice in the process of research, and this is especially the case in social sciences and more specifically in qualitative research context. So what is reflexivity? This is generally a process which involves a conscious, continuous reflection on the part of the researchers in order to evaluate, or you can say in order to reflect on their own values, their biases, their possible biases, their, you can say, cognitive biases, their epistemological biases and their methodological biases, their possible positionality, and the influence of all of these possible biases on all stages of the research process. Generally, reflexivity is, on the part of the researcher, is an acknowledgement that the researchers are part of the research process. They are active participants in the process of exploration of research and in the process of the creation of research, and as a result there are possibilities of their impact on the process and outcome of research. Now, this also means that reflexivity entails the awareness on the part of the researchers about the how of the background of the researchers. For example, the impact of the researchers' gender or their culture or their socio-economic statuses or their personal experiences on the research process and outcomes. So the backgrounds of the research may have an impact on the kind of research questions that they come up with or that they pose. This background or these backgrounds could also have an impact on the methodology that the researchers choose, the interactions that they have with the participants, especially in qualitative research, such as through observations or interviews, the way in which they interpret the data and the presentation of the findings. So all of these might have been impacted by the possible backgrounds of the researchers. And so the researchers need to be reflective about these, you can say, the influences of their background on these things. Now, why is it that reflexivity is important in research in social sciences, especially in qualitative research? First of all, it helps the researchers in enhancing or adding to the credibility and trustworthiness of the research process, because reflexivity actually helps them in presenting the background of the research and the background of the researcher, or in other words, the what, why, and how of the research in a more, you can say, elaborate way, in a more contextual way. Secondly, reflexivity on the part of the researchers helps in reducing possible causes and consequences of bias in the research. Reflexivity can also help in increasing the ethical sensitivity of the researchers, because they are looking at the ways and means and their own positionality in the process of research, in the interpretation of data, in the collection of data, and in their possible implications. And so that actually aids to the ethical sensitivity related to the validity and reliability considerations, and related to the factors that can impact the validity and reliability of the research process. And most importantly, it helps in improving the research design, because the researchers keep on thinking about the authenticity, the feasibility, the strengths and possible weaknesses of the research designs, the methodological considerations, and they keep on trying to deal with those possible limitations and weaknesses and improving the research design. Now, there are certain types of reflexivity in the research context. The first one is the personal reflexivity, where the researchers basically reflect on how their own identity or background or emotions might shape the research process and outcomes. Then we have the epistemological reflexivity, where the researchers think about the questioning related to the how of knowledge, or in other words, how knowledge is generated and what are the implications of that how on the methodological choices that they make for conducting the particular research. Thirdly, we have critical reflexivity, where the researchers are able to examine power relations, including the researcher's own role in producing or reproducing knowledge and in challenging social inequality. So in what ways the researcher's position has a possible impact on in terms of the power relationship with, for example, the research participants. So that is called critical reflexivity, and again, this is an important type of reflexivity. Now, the how of it, or in what ways can we ensure reflexivity and you can say productive reflexivity in our research. So first of all, we need to maintain a reflexive journal. This is like one of the ways in which the researchers keep on writing about the research process by documenting their thoughts, documenting their decisions, and in terms of the reactions, the actions and reactions they keep on taking throughout the research process. Besides this, another way in which researchers can ensure reflexivity in their research is to discuss their research designs, discuss the interpretations of their data with peers, to discuss dilemmas with colleagues, and to discuss challenges, and to discuss assumptions or conclusions. Another way to bring in reflexivity into the research process is actually to write the positionality statement of the researcher's own positions. So here one can include a section, for example, in the research report where the researchers explain who they are, why they are conducting the research, what is their background, and what is it, in what ways their background or the question of who they are might have affected the research process or outcome. And lastly, practicing iterative questioning, or keeping on questioning themselves throughout the research process. So as researchers, you can revisit your research questions. You can also revisit research methods, especially in flexible research design, such as the exploratory qualitative research types. And you can also revisit findings or reinterpret findings and discussions and conclusions. So iterative questioning is also an important way in which reflexivity is ensured in the research process. So overall, we can say that reflexivity is an important aspect of the process of research. Most researchers are generally critical thinkers who keep on thinking about the what, why, and how of the research process, and they need to continuously think about it in order to bring in more authenticity into the research process, to ensure rigor, to add to the validity and reliability, and most importantly, to look critically at whatever step they are taking, whatever conclusion they are making, and to look critically at the whole process of research in order to make the process of research more authentic, valid, and reliable.